We're already so capable and need no validation from anybody.
I will not be a bum. You're not raising a loser.
No one is better than me, and I'm not better than you.
Art saves lives. We should be using our voice to advocate for these things.
Positive energy does anything and everything.
If you're trying to see the good in everybody, the universe will always bring that back.
You create your own reality.
If you're resilient enough, you're gonna see bright days.
Time is so precious on Earth.
The journey don't stop.
Forced me to look at myself to live my best life.
Today's episode on Six Pod, registered holistic nutritionist, certified life coach. In my opinion, a great influencer as well on social media. When I saw her, I was just like, I need to see what's up. Obviously, with all your accomplishments, I definitely want to dig in deeper, and I want to pick your brain on your why and what got you from when you started the journey to where you are now. Okay, I'm going to guess your last name here. So Christina Anania.
Super close. Anania.
Anania. Oh, okay. Is that a common guess?
A lot of people think it's Anania or Anania. Yeah, but Anania.
Anania. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me. I'll even ask up front, during these crazy times, obviously nobody expected this pandemic to kind of come out of nowhere, but especially with your field of work, how are you and your family doing during these crazy times?
Well, we're doing as good as we can be, of course, like still trying to navigate everything that's going on, but it has seemed like we found a routine in it all. With my work and everything, it has been really nice because I do work from home. I was doing like a lot of recipe developing for some companies. So that was really lovely to have that opportunity. And then I was also taking clients online. So I already have such an online platform. So it was really adaptable to move into the pandemic in a way,
okay.
But it's uncertain times, a lot of different energies being pulled in and taken away. So I think all in all, we're navigating as best as we can.
I had no idea what a registered holistic nutritionist was before I met you. May I ask what that is?
Yeah, totally. And it's interesting because when you go out east in Canada and you go out west in Canada, holistic nutritionists are very known. But here in Winnipeg, it's a little bit different. We're just up and coming. So what I would say is like, if you're going to see a holistic nutritionist, you're kind of looking at like the body, mind, and spirit aspect. So you're getting to the root cause of one's health concern. So I would say that everybody is very unique. Everyone has a unique biochemical makeup, right? So each plan, each protocol, the way one eats, whether that be intuitively or if they need to follow a certain plan, we look at that and we kind of peel back the layers to look at where is the ailments coming from? Where is that pattern in our body that's, rooted so deeply that we need to maybe heal or look at and kind of guide them on their journey in exploring that.
I watched your 15-minute video. If you don't mind, if we can talk actually about that journey. Okay, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Absolutely. And I would love to dive right into that. So thank you for inviting me to, speak about this and come back to my why. So I would say that my journey started when I was really young. I was about 8 years old when I was diagnosed with anxiety, went to see a psychologist, put on medication, and I just had more anxiety than the average child, right? I was always worrying about everything constantly and started missing school because I was always calling my parents home sick every single day. So they finally took me to the doctors. I got my diagnosis, put on medication, and then started therapy. And then in the time of junior high and high school, other things started coming up, like irritable bowel syndrome, digestive issues, hormonal issues, and obviously heightened anxiety and stress. So I did what any other person would have done before they found the alternative route. And I went and did the Western medical, getting prescriptions, trying to do it that way, but I wasn't finding much relief in that. And in about 2014, I kind of found out about the alternative healing world, and I started tapping into the holistic realm of things and working with specialists. That's why I went to school to become the holistic nutritionist, because it was just something that was beginning to enlighten me and heal me on my journey. So then I was following that, and about a year ago, I had way too many eggs in my basket. I was working full time on top of having my side business, on top of I probably had 7 jobs in total, and I really burnt out. I wasn't taking care of my physical, mental, emotional health at all. And basically in the fall, I kind of hit more of a crisis state, and my anxiety and everything just spiraled to the point where I was hardly functioning anymore, and I wasn't looking after my body, and I was just go, go, go. And I I just burnt out. So in that, I came back to my why and I came back to my purpose in knowing that I needed to use my knowledge, my experience to help others who are on the same journey kind of come back to the other side and come back to themselves.
Up until the age of 21, you're on and off medication. After your first year of university, you were back on antidepressants. I wanted to pick your brain on this just for more clarity because I felt like some parts were very open-ended. In 2015, after your trip to BC, you finally came off of medication and you found your inner peace, tapped into your spiritual healing journey. May I ask what happened on that trip that kind of led you to that next phase?
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's just being in the mountains, being in nature. It kind of called me towards coming off of them and just picking up that holistic lifestyle, like coming back to my body, coming back to what the earth has to offer. And I think it was almost like an awakening. I just remember sitting on the beach, like with a fire, surrounded by mountains, surrounded by trees. And I was with like my brothers. And I was just like, geez, like, I don't even know why I'm taking these anymore. At that point, I was pretty free from a lot of the pain and a lot of the darkness I was going through. So I just like intuitively knew that it was time for me to come off of them. I went off of them cold turkey, which I don't recommend. Like I would always recommend, working with a psychiatrist, working with a doctor. But I was 21. I didn't really know the effects that it could have caused. But I was lucky enough to just like come off of them and then didn't look back until this following fall or this past fall.
Okay. The reason why I wanted to ask you on that was because about a year or so ago, I had gone to Terrace, BC, because my wife, who I reconnected with, lived there for like 3-4 years. And like you said, something about the mountains, the environment, the freeness, the liberation that I felt when I was out there versus I grew up a city boy. So I only knew metropolitan stuff or what's really in the fray of the city versus being outside in the open. And I told her, honestly, I love it here. I wish we didn't have to leave. Stress was just taken away. Part of it's from vacation, but a large part of it was I could see this small town of people just loving life, as cheesy as it sounds, and they're not really involved in any drama that may be more so here. Always happy to hear when there's a turn for the better kind of stories.
Yeah, and even like you said, that sense of freedom, I think that's just what I really felt and was like, I want more of this, like all the time. And how can I have access to that?
Is that something you would consider like moving more into a free environment, or you just are thankful of that experience? So now you can have something to relate if those feelings ever come back.
My dream has always been to move out west, whether that be on the island or just somewhere, even just for a small period of time. I mean, I always think that I'm going to settle in Winnipeg eventually, but I think just for a little bit, for experience, for that adventure, for that little bit of freedom, and just to see what it would be like, I feel very called to go out west that way.
So 2016, you started to develop panic attacks. Were you able to pinpoint why that was happening? Is it more just the feeling, or is it thoughts that create that kind of anxiety?
It's a little bit of both. And I think everyone's experience is a bit unique on how it happens. In 2016, I was in school, like to become a holistic nutritionist. So I was in school basically full time, and I was working full time at a bank and then part-time at a holistic like center in the city. And I think it just was too much. And I think it just all caught up with me. It was almost, I was a bank teller. So I was working with a client, and all of a sudden I just got this overwhelm in this impeding fear. And all of a sudden, like the room around me just like closed in. I couldn't really feel or function, and like just an intense like shortness of breath. And it almost felt like the room was spinning. So at that point, I didn't really know it was a panic attack. I thought it was just, oh, maybe I just got super dizzy or I didn't drink enough water. But then after that day, I guess it became like a memory in my brain, like that little bit of neuroplasticity is kind of this path that always occurs and always takes on like memories. So I would get panic attacks like almost every single day. And at that point, I didn't really see anybody about it because I was just kind of like, okay, like whatever, I'll get through it. It's just this job. So I quit the job and found another job that was a little bit more relaxing, a little bit less stressful. But then I started getting panic attacks there. And it wasn't until I think it was 2017 when I began to really dive deep into my healing and was working with a therapist and was taking different supplements. I began to heal the whole body in a holistic way again, and I became very balanced.
I've been battling with anxiety and what was my why, because issues with like family members, social media, I really dove into trying to collaborate with the community. And, at the time, like I just felt like that was such a beautiful phrase, like, let's do it for the community. But then when I was actually putting myself out there and collaborating and whatnot, I found it was sweet talking. What's trendy to hear? What's the trending topic to talk about? And when it came down to practicing what you're preaching, community actually never existed. I'm just going to use this person to get myself to the next place, to step on somebody's toes in order for you to get that place. I'm totally against. So I was dealing with that social media and transitioning from going into marriage, working out the kinks with my wife and kind of figuring everything out. All of that just came overwhelming for me. And I just needed to like step away from the world. So a lot of my friends and family didn't hear from me. A very, very small amount of people actually knew what was going on. And had I had the choice, I would not even talk to my wife, to be honest with you. That's how bad it got. When I heard you talking about it in your video, I was just like, okay, I'm not alone.
Well, exactly. And I just remember when I was going through the turmoil of like the suffering of it, I just remember saying my why and my purpose to keep on going was so that I could serve the community or other people who are going through something similar so they feel less alone. Because when I was going through it, I was working with different specialists and some understood, but it's so different when you're talking to somebody who has been through it, who actually understands it. You can do all the research and you can look up, okay, what's anxiety? What's depression? How does it feel? But I think it's like until you really feel it yourself, you don't truly understand. And like you said, like you just want to retreat, you want to become a hermit, you want to pull away from everyone. And we put so much demands and pressures on us already that sometimes we just need to close ourselves down. So I definitely felt that. And there was a period too where I wasn't talking to my friends, hardly talking to my family. My parents definitely were very helpful in that. But yeah, I just wanted to pull away because I was so confused with what I was going through and who I was. So
the vibe that I got when I finally reached out back to my friends and family was you can't just disappear and then like just talk to us again like nothing happened. Whether it be resentment or uncertainty, I kind of felt bad. Maybe I should have done X, Y, and Z, even if I was battling A, B, C. I realized, you know what, I shouldn't have to apologize for what I went through because it got me to the place that I am today. May I ask you if you felt those vibes as well when you came back and reconnected with your friends and family? And if so, what are your thoughts on that? Do you feel unapologetic? Did you feel apologetic up front? Or what was kind of the emotional battle with finding the answer to your questions at the same time answering questions that your friends and family may have?
So I think I was very apologetic at the beginning and definitely during through it because I wasn't acting myself. I was missing out a lot of stuff, but that just created a lot of shame and a lot of guilt for myself. When I came out on the other side, I think there was a couple people that were kind of, resentful, but I was more in my power to be like, you know what? I just went through something really big and really traumatic and I deserve to be unapologetic. And I think that when someone has someone in their life who is experiencing something like that, there is a lot of guilt and shame that we can throw on that person, but it's a little bit unnecessary, right? Because they're going through their own battle. And, as much as we want to help them, they'll get there on their own and on the other side. I think it's important to be able to support our friends and family who are suffering, but maybe hold off on the resentment because they are going through their own battle. And I think it's definitely important to reach out for help. And like you said, you could have done X, Y, and Z, but when you're in that state of like feeling paralyzed or just trapped, sometimes it can be really hard to reach out to people. And I think it's important that if we know somebody who's going through it, maybe use that energy to reach out to them, because when you're going through it, it's exhausting to try to find answers, to try to find help, and also be in a state of not functioning or darkness or whatever.
As early as last year, you'd mentioned you went back and forth with the anxiety, panic attacks, and healing again. So it was almost like just an ongoing battle. Can you speak on how frustrating that may have been? Like when I think I got the answer, something else comes up to test me. Were you going through something different at that time as well?
And that's a really amazing question. So I was super frustrated. Of course, I felt very betrayed by my body, by the healthcare system, by the holistic healing world. I was very resentful towards any type of healing because at that point I was like, I have done so much over the years to get to the place where I feel at peace and free. And I was transitioning back into more of like a relapse. So it was very frustrating. I beat myself up a lot, like mentally, like I was very hard on myself because I was helping people with their health that I needed to be perfect and that I needed to be healed. And here I was basically falling apart, not being able to look after myself. That was definitely very devastating and traumatic for me.
The type of person you are, you actually want to pull through for every obligation and responsibility. That must have been such an emotional battle, wanting to be there for others while finding the balance of being there for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was like definitely the hardest part. As to why it happened, it could have been just a huge transition in my life, breaking free of a lot of limiting beliefs, a lot of false stories, a lot of like society standards that I didn't believe in anymore. I don't want to say an identity crisis, but it was almost like, well, who am I? 25 years old, and I'm trying to like figure out, okay, like, what do I want to do with the rest of my life? Like, people are moving out, they're having kids. And I think it was just the pile of stress and then the pressure that I was putting on myself because I was doing too many things at once that I couldn't handle it anymore.
Is it more so like, honestly, it's just something you can't explain sometimes? It just happened because it happened.
That's exactly what it was. And I think part of the grieving and a part of like the frustration and the devastation that I was going through was because I couldn't find an answer. And because I didn't have an answer in my mind, it was like, well, I don't know how I can heal this or treat this or fix this. And I was working with like so many different specialists on different supplements, medication, and there was just so much to it. But it is one of those things that sometimes we just can't explain. Like I have a really amazing life, you know, fantastic parents, amazing family. I have a boyfriend of 9 years, like things are going well. I do enjoy what I'm doing. And I think that was a part of the guilt too, is like, I'm so grateful for everything I have in my life. But my brain is just like, why am I still suffering? Like, why am I so anxious? Why am I panicking every day? Or what is going on with my body? I think that was the biggest piece was I felt like I was so sick, like mentally and physically, that there was something wrong with me and no one could figure it out.
2-part question. How are you now? If you were to rate it 1 to 10, 10 being, you know, I'm doing really well.
As opposed to where I was in the fall, I would say I'm definitely at an 8. I still have challenging days, but I think it's just a process. It's a part of the journey. We're all healing and it's not just like one straight path. It's kind of up and down in a roller coaster until we begin to like pick the right paths and kind of get rid of all the turmoil that's created around us.
So second part of that question is, I don't know if you've gotten the vibe or if someone has told you up front, how can you help me with my journey if you're still battling yours?
And that's a very, very good question because that was something that I was totally like, that was in my head, you know, like how can I help people if I'm still battling, right? And this actually brought me back to my therapist. I work with a therapist and psychologist, and I'd let them know like that was one of my thoughts. And they're like, but you have so much to offer. You have so much compassion. You have so much value. You have so much experience, like education plus like personal experience. And sometimes that's the wisdom that somebody needs just to get on their journey and to keep on going. And I really resonated when I spoke to people who've been on similar journeys and they helped me get to the other side. I think if it wasn't for somebody who was still going through something like that or had never gone through it, it'd be hard for me to continue to.
I appreciate how vulnerable and open you are regarding that question, because it's definitely not easy to like put yourself out there. I think it's very brave of you to say, hey, I'm still battling my journey, but along the way, I am more than happy to like bring you with me because we can do this together.
For sure. And I feel like it's all about that connection piece and that vulnerability, but also being like authentic, right? Just being genuine, be like, hey, I'm still struggling, but let me help you because I understand where you're at, or we can resonate on the same vibes and energy. Like we know what's going on. So, and I also feel like when I'm healing others, I'm also healing myself. You know, it's very mutual. It's not like I have a session with somebody and it's just me helping them. They're also helping me at the same time.
So around October, November, you're battling with fighting off adversity naturally or going back to medication. May I ask what that choice ended up being? Are you still practicing that decision now?
Yeah. So October and November were kind of my ending point where I was like, okay, I need to make a decision. I need to do something right now because at this point I'm hardly living. I basically felt like I was like dying on the inside and just like basically functioning. So by the end of October, I decided that I was going to try medication, and I was super scared. I was super nervous because I haven't been on medication in years, and I tried one and it really didn't work out for me. It actually caused a lot of like side effects. And so in November, I was kind of like, well, this is it. Nothing's going to work for me. I have no idea what I'm going to do. And that's basically when I did hit like rock bottom. And then I sat down with my parents one night because I just like wasn't leaving the house. I wasn't leaving the basement. I wasn't leaving my couch, nothing. And I was like, I need to be on medication and this is going to be so hard, but I want to be ready. I want to be better by Christmas. And I decided to go on this medication that I was on when I was a child. And it took a really long time for it to balance out in my body. But it gave me almost like a humble knowing, and that Western medical and alternative medical systems can be combined in order to really heal. So more functional medicine. Because at one point, I think after years of trying the Western medical route, I was kind of like, no, like this isn't working for me. Like alternative is the only way. And then this kind of brought me the opportunity to be like, oh, wait, no, they both work together.
If anybody's in a similar position, choose a path, find out if it works or not. Make a decision first, see if it was right for you. You almost have to be tireless in finding that solution. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
As opposed to be like, nothing works, I'm going to crawl up in a ball and stay in the corner.
Yeah, for sure. And it's exhausting even trying to explore that. I found that, the medication gave me a tool. I use it as a tool so I can do the harder work. So I can do the meditations, so I can do the supplements, so I can do the healthy eating. Because when you're at a point where you're so lost and confused and gone down that dark path, it's very hard to even ground yourself. So I look at it as a tool. And I think if anyone else is kind of in the same state and not sure where to go, I would even just start with like asking what they think is best for their body. Because some people really do need the medical route, and some people maybe can take, vitamin B12 or, it's like magnesium or whatever, just to settle them down, or exercise or mindfulness. And, the list of treatments and healing goes on and on and on when it comes to mental health. But I think it's when you step back and say, hey, what works best for me? And I had to play around with it for a few months until I was like ready to go back on the medication so I could do all the inner work.
Potential two-part question here. You mentioned your circle was getting smaller. Are you talking about your friends and family getting smaller and people starting to filter out? Or is that literal, like the room is getting smaller?
And now that you like bring all those examples, it was a little bit of all of them. But what I meant in that with my circle getting smaller, I mean, like I wasn't able to go to the superstore or the grocery store without having a panic attack. I couldn't go to my friends' birthdays or restaurants without having a panic attack.
Your radius of willing to go out.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. And to the point where I was just in my house all the time, like in my room. But then at that point, I was having panic attacks in my room. So every single place that I thought was safe, or every person that I thought was my safe spot, no longer was, because it was all internal. It was all in my mind. I was basically afraid of myself.
So then this would be just a separate question. How important it is to express your empathy to those who reach out to you. Was it the amount of people that was reaching out? Was it who was reaching out to you? What spoke to you the most? Like, hey, you know what? With this support group, I can get past this.
Yeah, we'll see if I answer it and then we can dive in deeper. I had a small but really strong support group. I had a few, like maybe count on my hands, like really strong friends who would reach out to me every once in a while and help me through it. I wasn't seeing them at the time, but I would say like my rocks were definitely my parents. They got me through the worst of it. And definitely one of my sisters who went through something similar really helped me. And I think just like coming back to my purpose, like knowing that, when I come out on the other side, like I am going to be here to help other people, and that there is a beautiful journey ahead, and that there is still light at the end of the tunnel. And I think I was starting to experience moments of like inner peace and glimpses of joy and hope. It was when my hope came back that I decided like, I think I can do this. Like I'm going to do it, whatever it takes for me to keep on going.
Do you remember what you wrote down on November 5th, 2019?
So that was in my journal. I can grab it.
If that's all right with you.
Yeah, it's right here.
Yeah, take your time.
Did you want me to read it out?
Please. Basically, at the end of the video, you had mentioned that you wrote something down. It's almost like the exclamation point on that chapter, but then it's also the transition of going into your new one.
So if there's one thing I have learned over the past 25 years, is that there is always a light after any period of darkness. I'm starting this new journal at one of the heaviest and darkest periods of my life, and I know that somewhere soon, I will be writing about how free I am. As tears melt down my cheeks, I still have a sense of hope that this will all pass and I will wake up at peace and a mind full of joy and love. I have learned how brave I am through all of this and have dived deep into my strength to pull myself above ground. Things will get lighter soon, just like they always do and always have. I am a warrior of the light, and God and my angels have big plans for me. I will breathe again, I will laugh again, I will sing again, and I will dance again. These rock bottoms are to show us our shadows so we can fully heal. We are allowed to process and unfold the way we want to. Sometimes it can be messy, but sometimes it can give us all of the answers we need to evolve and come home to ourselves. And then I wrote, radical shifts are made in the essence of evolving.
Very, very beautiful. I don't know the last time you read that, but what comes to mind when you read that again?
I feel very proud. I haven't read that since I made that video actually. And when I read that out loud, it's just kind of I always had an inner knowing that I would get to the other side, although it took so long. But just reading that, it gives me that feeling of hope and, it's all going to be okay. And what I went through was tragic and terrifying at the time, but there was that light at the end of the tunnel. And here I am to help all of those get to the other side and to walk on alongside their journey to get them there as well.
So Christina, this next segment, it's open forum. However you want to take it, it's in your hands on what you want to talk about, whether you want to raise awareness on something you feel passionate about, revisit a topic or segment that we've discussed, tell a funny story. It can be a quote that was really profound. Christina, the stage is yours. What do you want to talk about?
We all have a different story. It's unique to us, but being brave enough and vulnerable enough and open enough to express what we're going through and reaching out to those who are maybe going through something similar and sharing our own stories. I find that there's a lot of comfort in resonating with someone who's gone through something due to mental health. Of course, I don't wish that upon anyone at all, but I also find that, it's the way we can connect. It's the way to see that we do have that strength in us to push through those dark times and to keep on going. Because like I said, when there's periods when I was saying I don't know if I was going to make it, I really did not know what was going to happen if I wasn't, going to go on medication or see a professional or anything like that. And, there is such a stigma around mental health and, why do these people who have amazing lives struggle with mental health when they have everything in the world? And I think it's just knowing that there's so much more to our mental health and our chemistry than just, the lives that we're living. Has to do with what's in our food, the environment around us, the pressures and the stories and limiting beliefs we've created for ourselves. And, I could dive really deep into neuroplasticity and our neural pathways, which are basically the connection of memories in our brain. And I think it's just, we all need to be a little bit open-minded and aware. I think just trying to understand and being patient, and instead of always telling people what to do, inviting them and asking them how they're feeling or if they're willing to share their story. October is coming around and that's Mental Health Awareness Month. And then it's amazing because, people are fighting through this every single day, just not 1 month. And then there's Bell Let's Talk, which is amazing and important for movement. But I think there just needs to be more resources, more in the education field, growing up as a kid and in school, learning how to help somebody, or maybe parents have courses on, how to help and be there for their children who are maybe suffering with depression or anxiety. And I think there just needs to be more resources in the systems that we have. We are getting better, but there definitely has to be more awareness.
I definitely agree. If you could advise your younger self one thing they have to act upon, what would that be?
That would definitely be keep strong, share your story, be brave, be vulnerable, and be open to the healing process. Considering this pandemic, what are you most looking forward to in the months to come, in the years to come? For yourself, for your business, for your friends and family? Yeah, for sure. So for my business, I'm looking forward to working more with clients. I work a lot with actually younger girls between the ages of 16 to 24-ish. It's really incredible and very rewarding because they're just so powerful and they're all so wise for their age. And it just kind of reminds me a little bit of myself when I was their age. So that's very rewarding. And, I'm planning on going back to school to, become like a registered counselor or therapist, so I can even take this a step further. But yeah, I'm just looking to see, you know, what happens, how many people I can work with, and where I get in a few years from now, because I've been doing so much growing and healing, and I know it's not over and it might not ever be over, but I find that as the months go on, I become a little bit more wise and I learn a little bit more about myself.
If you aren't following her already, definitely do that. Evolve with T on Instagram. She also has her website here. Also, you just started your podcast. I actually listened to your latest episode. Can you kind of touch on that?
Yeah, so that's with the Soul Sister Society. My friend from Toronto, actually, she's incredible. She's creating this like girl sisterhood kind of group where anyone, any type of like young girl or anyone who identifies as a female can come to and feel safe and in a sacred space and feel empowered. And we wanted to start a podcast where they can come to do meditations and to find resources on goal setting and everything like that.
Check that out if you haven't had a chance. We'll provide all the links below. She has her website. You can check out, blog, all the tips for this situation that you're looking to take care of. Christina, to say that this has been an honor would be an understatement. So I can't thank you enough for being so generous with your time. I don't know about you, but I feel like I've made a new friend with you. And thank you for... Yeah, BFFs. Thank you for being so open with your life and your journey. I only wish the best for you and wish you continued success and whatever you have coming for you in terms of your future accomplishments and accolades. It's going to be well deserved, because if there's anybody that should be receiving all those things, it's you. So I can't thank you enough for doing this.
Thank you, my heart. I'm not going to cry, but thank you so much.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. And we'll definitely, again, it didn't even feel like an hour passed by. Definitely had a blast with you, and we definitely got to do a round 2 later on.
Yeah, we'll do a round 2. We can dive deeper. I think we just scratched the surface.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I look forward to it. Christina, thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.
What do you think of Skittles?
Love Skittles. I love the red ones are my favorite, and of course the tropical and the sour. How about you?
I definitely love the red. If I'm like too lazy to pick them like separately, I'll just throw them all
in your mouth.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, yes, I would do the same. I don't like the yellow or green.
Any plans for this weekend?
Yes, actually, my sister's in town and she's with my nephew. So we're going to have like a big family thing tonight. And then tomorrow we might head out to my cabin. And then Sunday we have my dad's 65th birthday. So we're going to have like a big dinner and all get together. I have a really big family. So there's probably going to be like 15 of us. And that's just like siblings and my parents and then spouses, of course. So
I should have a plan, because my wife's a grade 2 teacher. And so like we're trying to figure out how we can capitalize on the rest of the summer before she goes back to work. So are you a cat person or are you a dog person, or are you neither?
I'm actually kind of both. I used to be way more of a dog person. And then my friends started getting cats and I was like, okay, they're not that bad. But I mean, if I were to have a preference, probably a dog. I
don't know what it is about dogs lately, but like, you know, those recommendations on YouTube? I keep getting the Dodo, the YouTube channel, and they all the videos from like rescue dogs and stuff like that, and their backstory. The universe is telling me something. I was always against getting pets, but I don't know. I'm getting dog fever.
Oh yeah, for sure, especially during these times.